Hi, this is Chris Converse, and in this episode we'll take a look at creating styles for form elements when they're in their focused state, meaning they're activated and waiting for user input. This will allow you to provide user feedback while keeping your site's color scheme more consistent. So if you'd like to follow along with me, download the exercise files, and let's begin by opening index.html in a text editor. Now with the HTML file open, you'll see in the head area we have a link to style.css, which we'll open in a moment. Inside of the body area we have a form. Inside of the form, we have an H1, and then I have each of the input types for the form inside of div elements. And to preview the layout we're going to be working with, you can open the index.html file up in a browser. Now inside of the browser, if you come in here and click on a form field to activate it, you can start typing inside. Notice the highlight around the outside and the borders. Every browser will render the forms a little bit differently and show the focus a little bit differently. So we're going to use CSS to target the focus state of the form and change the color so they're more consistent. So I'll just delete my input here. Next, let's go back to the exercise files. Let's find style.css. Let's open this in our text editor. Let's scroll down a bit and let's look for where we're targeting the input and text area inside of our form element. So it starts on line 42 here. And the comma here lets us define two selectors in the same rule. So after background color, let's come in here and set a new property of outline, and we'll set this to none. With this in place, let's hit save. Let's go back to the browser. And now when we click on the individual fields to put them in their focus state, we no longer see that blue highlight around the outside. And again, you might see a different color highlight depending on the browser you're using, but with the outline set to none, you shouldn't see anything. So now let's go back to the CSS. After the outline property inside of the form input and form text area, let's hit another return. And let's add a border. So we'll use shorthand style here. So border colon space, 1 pixel for the size, solid for the style, and let's use RGBA for the color. Put in our parentheses, then a semicolon. And I don't want to have any color here. However, when we assign a color for the focus state, I don't want the forms to move around because we've applied a border, because the border takes 1 pixel and will shift everything. So we're basically going to put an invisible border here. So I'll do 0 for red, comma 0 for green, comma 0 for blue, then a comma, and then a 0 for the alpha. So again, this will add a border that we won't be able to see. So with this in place, let's hit save. Let's go back to the browser. Let's hit reload. And we'll now see that our invisible border is being applied. So we just have gray fields here. And now we're ready to create some CSS rules that will target the focus state. So let's go back to the CSS file. Let's create a new rule. We'll type form, space input, colon, focus, put in our brackets. Let's split this open. Let's come in here and set a border dash color. And we'll set this to a gold color. So we'll use hexadecimal. So £, F2 for red, 9F for green, and 27 for blue, semicolon. Next property, let's come in and set background color. So background dash color, we're going to set this to a green. So that's £, 40 for red, 40 for green, and 15 for blue. So with these in place, let's hit save. Let's go back to the browser. Let's come in here and click on our fields. So now when username is in a selected state, we'll see that we get a gold border and a green background. Same thing for password. However, if I come down and click inside of the text area, you'll notice that the color doesn't change. This is not an input field, but rather a text area in the HTML. So I'll just reset my form. Let's go back to our CSS. Let's come in here and add a second focus property. So after input colon focus, let's hit a comma. I'm going to put this on the next line. And let's type form space text area colon focus. Save your file. Let's go back to the browser. And now when I click inside of the text area and begin to type, we'll see that the focus area is now being applied to the text area as well. Now the last thing I'd like to do is style the submit button down here so that the hover state of the submit matches the focus state of the fields. So again, let's go back to the CSS file. After text area colon focus, let's hit a comma, let's hit a return. Let's type form, space, input. Then we're going to use the attribute selector in CSS. So beginning and ending square bracket. Inside we're going to set type equals 2 quotes, submit. Then after the attribute selector, we're going to hit a colon and type in hover. With that in place, let's hit save. Let's go back to the browser one more time. And if I hover over the submit button, we'll see that we get a gold border and a green background, which matches the focus state for the text area and the input fields. So with just a few CSS properties, we're able to style the focus state of form elements to better match the colors of our web design. Now, if you'd like to explore more styling options for form elements, take a look at our course entitled Styling Form Elements, which is also available here in the library. And with that, I'll conclude this episode. And as always, thanks for watching.